The field is way too crowded to start an online fitness business, right? Especially if I've already got a gym. Well, maybe not. Today we've got Spencer Tatum, the founder of Tatum Human Performance, to give us some guidance. Welcome to Naamly University Online. I'm Elias Scar. Spencer, thank you so much for your time today. We're so grateful that you've opted to share some time with the entrepreneurs that are watching. We want to talk about online fitness businesses and online fitness services, and I can see that you're also brick and mortar with an online component. And we have a lot of people that are looking to add that to their services as a gym and add that to their business model. So many gym owners are curious about the initial steps and challenges in taking their business online. Could you share your experience with the transition to online coaching, and what were some of the biggest hurdles you had to overcome in the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is being strategic about why you're doing this. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with this? Right? A lot of people think they can just get online and it's super easy, like just record some videos, send it out. Like, you have to be way more strategic online than you have to be in person because you have to think about everything that you do in person. How does that translate when you're not there? Right. So you really have to think about like those scenarios of like, when you're coaching, from how they're executing, what's your user experience, how to log in, log out. So that was a big thing. And then, one thing we were prepared for. So like when COVID hit, in 2020, we were already using online tools. We've been using it for a couple of years. So we kind of worked out through a lot of those kinks. And then there's like the delivery system, like how are we delivering it? What's the follow-up communication? What's the feedback loop you're gonna need? Because the one thing you're gonna need is what's the feedback loop from a retention standpoint, because you can sell it, but then the faster it'll go, and we're a lot higher price point than your typical $39 a month, right? We're more in the $100 a month. So think about like that differently. It was, what's the time and energy this is going to take? What's my clientele I'm going after? How is that aligned? So what the beauty of what we've also thought about is the online system, the online tools that you get is the same thing we use brick and mortar. So it's not like we're learning two different things in our brain. That's also a very important thing right there. So when you go online, you really need to focus on why am I doing this? What am I trying to accomplish with that? And then what is the user experience for and what tools and resources you need? The other big thing I think going online is equipment. You have to get to where you standardize the equipment, because if you start in your head, you're like, okay, well, this gym has kettlebells and this gym does it, and this gym has TRXs and this gym, like, it's a lot easier. That's why Tonal and all these other companies work, because they standardize the equipment. It makes it really, really easy when you standardize the equipment, or you bucket them up in the right order. So if like, hey, they're in a box gym, every box gym pretty much has X, right? And then you have to kind of think about spacing in a box gym, right? So the squat rack may be over here and the bench press may be over here, where they're not congruent. So the members walking all the way across the facility. In a box gym, you can't control the environment. So what environment they're training in is also too. So when you're going online, thinking about those environments, thinking about the tools and resources that you have and the user experience is a huge, huge component of that.
Yeah, it sounds to me like I see a lot of entrepreneurs that look to get into the online space just try to think that they're going to copy and paste their brick and mortar into that. But it
Right.
sounds to me, although you used intelligently used overlap in the tools, you really approach this as a fresh business, as a new, like looking at finding out who your avatar is, knowing exactly what you do, really taking that approach of this is a brand new business.
hmm Yeah, and you're only as good as you can teach it, right? So you have to think about that. You mean the amount of depth you have to go online and do it successfully is
Mm.
way more deeper than your brick and mortar.
Mm. I noticed that another concern for gym owners is maintaining client engagement. And you mentioned that a little bit. How are you communicating with your clients? What tools are you using to communicate?
hmm
And that engagement and retention in an online setting. What strategies have you found most effective for keeping clients motivated and committed to their fitness goals without that in-person interaction? What
Well,
does that client service look like?
yeah, so I mean, you need to have a feedback loop, right? So the feedback loop is one. Anomaly is a great way to use that, right? So
Mm.
having that constant communication, because then the communication style and the communication, the way people are communicating is the same way they do in their everyday life, right? That's why I don't like using a lot of the communication notifications that go through an app that has a push notification, because that's not really how we communicate, right? We communicate through text, we communicate through phone,
Right.
communicate through email. So, right. So staying with their communication, like a behavior stack, right? Power of habits, talk about this. Atomic habits, talk about that, like staying in their same kind of method that they use. The other thing is you need data coming back, right? So, and also setting the expectation first. When you're meeting with an online client, you need to be very, very clear of what's expected from, they should expect from you, and what's expected from them, right? So that's a very, like, when are you communicating to them? How many times can they communicate to you, right? And what format can they communicate? Can they call you all the time? is certain hours of the day can they call you, or certain hours you're going to respond back, right? Because if not, you're going to be doing a lot of busy work going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and never really get to that the answer. And the beautiful thing also about using like Naamly and using their templates is having this preset templates that you can send out when you're thinking about, okay, I've gotten this question more than once or twice or three times. I need to have an automatic response to that
Yeah.
because that's now becoming a trend or a pattern. It's not a one-off. And then on the training side, right, you need feedback. Like, how are they doing? Like, is it video format they got to send back to you? Is it pictures they're sending back to you? Is it numbers? They're either we use an app called Team Builder, so they're entering their stuff in. We're looking at reports and how often you're looking at their data and giving them feedback is also it's very very crucial. If not, you're gonna have a high turn rate.
Tying back to what you mentioned about being a higher price model for a higher value model, it sounds with everything explained with what you're doing with your online people, it sounds like the attention required for an online client it almost exceeds an in-person client with everything you have to do. And getting automation in place and that can help. But I think it could be easy to fall into that trap where you're giving this a tremendous amount of attention for a very low price point.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and you got to think about you're either going to do a high volume game. So if you're going to do a high volume game, then you need to have, thousands of thousands. You need to be like Planet Fitness, right? You need to have thousands and thousands and thousands of users, right? Because your turn rate's going to be high and people are going to forget about it at one point. Or you're going to be doing the same amount of work that you do for $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month client, which we do have to where you're doing the same thing for $100 a month client. Like, it doesn't make any sense unless you're going to have volume, or you're going to be like, hey, it's very, very clear. Like, it is what it is. I'm basically hands off, and you just pay a monthly fee. But then they're probably going to have a high drop off rate.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be a human interaction.
So, okay. So on that note of human interaction, a sense of community is often a big part of why people stick with a gym. So how have you managed to create and nurture an online community? Do you find like that it's important to nurture an online community among your clients?
Absolutely,
What do you think is important when it comes
for
to
sure.
doing that?
Yeah, so I mean, there has to be like ongoing challenges. There has to be a way they can engage one that have a social sharing network, right? Whether it's Facebook, whether it's IG. I mean, those are the two
Mhm.
simple ways, right? Or you can do like we're doing now, like a bingo challenge, right? It's been super successful to where like one of the things is they have to post on IG and tag us in there, right? That's a very simple way of doing it. Team Builder, they can communicate to them. A Facebook group, they can do that too. So having that sense of community, but that needs to be to where and you have to think systematically because if you do something one time, right, that's going to start becoming the expectation. So you have to think, okay, can I continue this? This is a sustainable way that I can continue to get feedback, continue to get engagement. And that's what it allows us to. I mean, we have like a 95, 97% retention rate.
Wow. Wow, that's no joke. So, okay, so talking retention and thinking about everything that you provide your clients with that level of retention, with the service you provide, the community, the challenges, the interaction and communication, navigating the financial aspect of online coaching can be really tricky for gym owners using traditional business models. Can you discuss a little bit about your approach to monetization and your pricing strategy for online fitness services? Any tips for gym owners on how to set competitive yet sustainable pricing?
Yeah, I mean, one is looking at okay, look at very simple way, the best easiest way to do it, looking at is how much time it's gonna take. Because I bet you if you look at it, it's the same amount of time you're doing. So why are you charging it? We don't charge any different for online than we do for in person
Hmm.
because it's the same work.
Yeah, the work
You know,
investment is the same, right?
work investment is the same, right? And we've earned that credibility and that right to do that.
Hmm.
I think I'm dying here. Um, can you hear me still?
Yep.
Okay. So, we've earned that right to do it. So I think that's one thing. I think also looking at like what's the market you're going after? Who's your demographic? Be very, very niche because if you're second or third in that market, then you're always chasing, right? You want to think, okay, what
Right.
market can I be first in, right? Be very,
Hmm.
very super niche and be executing that really, really well, right?
A great simple question. What market can I be first in? Because you get one end of the spectrum where you're like, you've got people who are like, I'm going to train everybody, and then you got the other two where I'm only going to train NBA basketball players. Like, you really have to pay attention to what is the actual market that's realistic for you to be first in.
And then you got to know how they speak, how they talk, how they act, right? That's why, like when we switch over to doing a lot of golf stuff, and we've had some very good credibility, is that just hammering that home, right? Because that's easy. That's easy to market to. You know exactly what they want to buy, exactly what they want, right? When you say I'm going to improve human performance, but that's very broad strokes. I'm gonna make you well, but that can be interpreted, right? Well and what, right?
Yeah,
And then so
absolutely.
that's something there. So on that modeling side, think about, what's your demographic, how many people can you handle too? You got to think about what's your bandwidth, right? And
Mhm.
if it's turn and burn, if it's a lot of volume, then you handle a lot of volume. But if you do a lot in person, like how many coaches, how many human interactions, how many digital interactions they have, you need a client journey map. You need to be really marked out and think about where the interactions at and where the choke points or where the challenges or where the bottle ups are going to be. Because people are gonna get sick, right? People are gonna call out, right? People are gonna change, people are gonna leave you, trainers are gonna leave you, right? So that's where you have to think systematically. It can't be about one coach, one person. It has to be about the system that you're delivering. Well, our product is, we're a system, we're a coaching education company, but we deliver our product is a system that optimizes human performance and unlock human potential through individual program design.
Wow, I had high expectations. I did not expect such great content in such a short amount of time, right? In this end, thank you so much, Spencer, for your time, man. This was awesome. We look forward for another opportunity to talk to you and share
Yeah,
our audience with you.
yeah. Feel free to reach out anytime.
Holy smokes, did Spencer have a lot of great stuff to share in that video. But I think my favorite thing he said was, what does that client map look like from the minute we get the lead to the point we're in training, working out, and part of that fitness community? I love it. Now, if you want more content like this, hit the link below and don't forget to subscribe, share, and smash that bell for alerts.